Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is my 2022 midsize pickup truck shootout. So today I'm going to be comparing all four of these trucks for you guys to see which one is best for you. So without further ado, let's get started.
I'd like to thank Koch 33 Ford, Brown Daub Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram, and Star Buick GMC for lending me these pickup trucks to compare. If you're looking for any vehicles from these brands, I'll leave links in the description below.
Up front, I just want to do a few housekeeping things. First off, unfortunately, I was not able to get a Nissan Frontier for this review. I really tried, but it just wasn't in the cards. I'll leave a link right above here to my opinions on the Nissan Frontier because I was able to review one of those recently if you're interested in that. Secondly, oh no, I forgot a Honda Ridgeline for this video. I just really don't think it compares to these off-road beasts in the midsize segment. Even though it is technically a midsize truck, I feel like it kind of falls in a different category, so I decided not to include that in this particular comparison. And then when we move over to the GMC, I did choose the GMC instead of the Chevy Colorado because that is GM's more premium offering, and under the hood they offer the same powertrain and engine specifications, so I decided to go with the GMC just in case anybody was like, well, where's the Chevy Colorado? The GMC is basically the more premium version of that. So I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. Let's talk about these trims and the prices. Starting here with the Tacoma, this is the TRD Off-Road, which is not their highest off-roading trim, that would be the Pro, but this does come with some good features like crawl control and a rear locker. This MSRP is for around $46,000 right now. And then moving over here to the Ranger Lariat, this is their top of the line trim with the Sport Appearance package. So you'll get a unique grille, some unique wheels, and a really nice leather interior. This MSRP is for $45,000. And then moving over here to the GMC Canyon AT4. The AT4 trim was introduced for the 2021 model year, so this is probably the newest trim of all of them. You'll get a new grille and some really nice features on the inside as well. This one stickers for $46,000. And then moving over to the Gladiator, definitely the coolest color amongst all of these. This MSRP is for $51,000, though it definitely is the most off-road focused of all of these trucks. Pretty much every Gladiator is. So those are our four competitors. Moving underneath the hoods in all of these trucks, I have my trusty notebook with all the specs written down because I'm not 100% sure I'm going to remember all these as we walk down the row. Starting here with the Jeep though, this is powered by a 3.6 liter V6 paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. That outputs, see, look, I already forgot, 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. And then moving to the GMC, this is also a 3.6 liter V6 paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, though this makes 308 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque, so a little bit more output from the GMC. And then moving over here to the Ranger, this is the standout kind of anomaly. This is a 2.3 liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission, and that makes 270 horsepower, but a whopping 310 pound-feet of torque. And then we move to old reliable, the Toyota Tacoma. This is powered by the 3.5 liter Atkinson Cycle V6, which makes 278 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque. And this is paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission, so lowest gearing between all of these trucks, but Toyota does have a track record of making very reliable engines. Moving to the beds of these trucks, starting here with the Tacoma, you'll have Toyota on the tailgate handle and a backup camera right here, and then Tacoma stamped across the tailgate. In this configuration, if properly equipped, the Tacoma can tow up to 6,400 pounds, and then opening it up, it does have a dampened tailgate. The payload capacity in this is 1,155 pounds, and this has a composite bed, not a bed liner, a composite bed. This is like a fiberglass material. And so I can tell you, I have a little bit older Tacoma, which also has this. It really does hold up over some long-term use. And then we have an AC 120 volt outlet in here, which is really nice. and some spots for positionable cargo tie downs. Now, the last thing I wanted to touch upon while we're in the bed on the Tacoma is this is the 6-foot bed configuration with the full crew cab. The Tacoma and the Canyon are the only trucks between these four that have 6-foot bed configurations with full crew cabs. So if you want to take the whole gang and a little bit more cargo, the Ranger does not offer that. They only offer the extended cab with the longer bed, and the Gladiator only comes in the 5-foot full crew cab configuration. Something to note. Moving over here to the Ranger, you'll have your big Ford badge right here with the backup camera integrated into it, and then Ranger also stamped into the tailgate. I actually really like when trucks do that. I think it's pretty cool, even though Ranger just stole it from Tacoma. You'll have your parking sensors right here, and then opening the tail, well, I guess I should mention the towing capacity, I suppose. This can tow 7,500 pounds if properly equipped. So that's significantly more than the Tacoma. So it's something to note. And then opening the tailgate, definitely no dampened tailgate in here. This particular one has a spray-in bed liner. There are options for LED lights, and you do have some nice cargo tie downs in here, but it is a fairly basic bed in comparison with the Tacoma. The payload, though, in this is 1,860 pounds. So this actually has a really, really good payload capacity between all of these trucks. And then moving to the Canyon, this is really the worker's truck. There's a lot of cool features here. For one, you're gonna get bed steps to give you easier access up here into the bed. That's not something offered on these other trucks from the factory. You can get optional ones that kind of fold down, but they are not incorporated into the bumper like they are on the Canyon. You'll have parking sensors down here, and then if properly equipped, the Canyon has a towing capacity of 7,700 pounds, so even better than the Ranger. And you'll have your gigantic GMC logo back here, AT4, and your backup camera. Dropping the tailgate, this is dampened. Look at how nice it comes down. This also has a spray-in bed liner and some cargo tie downs, though no household outlet or sliding positionable bed clamps or anything like that. The payload, a little bit lower in here, 1,470 payload capacity in here. Not bad though, pretty well equipped, I would say, all things considered. And then moving to the Jeep Gladiator, which is basically a longer wheelbase Wrangler. You'll have a backup camera right here, and I actually really like how they've incorporated the third brake light into the tailgate because the roof is removable on this. You do have a rescue hook down here, which is nice, and then your towing capacity is 7,650 pounds on the Gladiator, and you'll have a 4-wheel drive badge right there. Dropping this, it is also dampened. Again, a spray-in bed liner and LED lights with some really nice cargo tie downs. And the payload capacity in this is 1,700 pounds. So again, pretty evenly split across these trucks. All of them can definitely get work done if you need them to. It just depends on what features you're looking for. Moving to the interior of the Ranger, you are going to have dual screens in the gauge cluster and a Bang & Olufsen sound system. There is some hard touch materials in here though, which is a little disappointing. And my other big gripe is that the controls right here are a little bit complicated. It's nice to have all the heated seats, but finding which button you want easily takes a little bit of time and practice. One good thing is while it does look dated, this infotainment system is really quick and very snappy. It comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, of course. And I actually really do like this. And then shifting into reverse, you do get a backup camera with guiding lines and parking sensors. As I also previously mentioned, there is leather seats in here. Very, very comfortable. Really nice seating position overall as well. Moving to the back seat of the Ranger, you're going to get an AC 110 outlet back here, which is really nice, and 2 USB ports, little storage area. And you do have a manually sliding rear window back here. That's always nice to see the rear window, even if it is only manually sliding. And these seats are just as comfortable as they are up front. You also do get a little fold down armrest with cup holders. Alrighty, driving the Ranger. This is a really zippy truck with the 2.3 liter EcoBoost and the 10-speed automatic paired together. Like when you floor this thing, it flies. It is a really fun truck to drive. And I think between all of these trucks, it feels the most car-like. The Gladiator is definitely the most truck-like. It's very boxy, but this feels a lot more maneuverable with the steering, and it feels a little bit more floaty. Definitely the most comfortable ride between all of the trucks. It's a really smooth and light experience, I guess is the easiest way to say that. Even though this interior is pretty dated, the 2023 model year of the Ranger should prove positive in updating a lot of the interior elements. Moving to the Canyon, this potentially has the most luxurious interior of all of the trucks, even compared to the Lariat Ranger. That might have slightly more soft touch leather materials, but this definitely feels a little bit more premium, and it also has a heated steering wheel. So does the Gladiator, but that definitely feels a little bit more utilitarian. We'll get to that in a minute. The steering wheel is definitely the most comfortable amongst all of the trucks here, and the button layout is just very simple, very straightforward. Despite even having a lot of buttons here, it's just laid out a lot better than the Ranger's is. Other highlights here include the infotainment system, which, my word, has to be the fastest. Like, look at how quick I can click between these things. It just has to be the fastest infotainment between all of them. You'll get a Bose sound system in there. You also have your four-wheel drive selector down here. Kind of an odd placement compared to some of the other vehicles. Unfortunately, no locking diff on this. I think the Tacoma might actually be the only vehicle that does have a locking diff amongst our competitors today. I was pretty sure the Jeep did, but I think I just looked and the Jeep actually doesn't have that. So the Tacoma might win out in most off-road prowess amongst all of these trucks. Flipping this into reverse really quick here, you do have a backup camera on here. No guiding lines, but there is parking sensors, so that is really nice. Actually, yes, there's guiding lines. I was lying. As we turn here, you can see that there is parking lines that do turn with it, so that is really nice. Moving to the rear of the Canyon, you'll get two USBs and a 12 volt right there, and then you'll also have an armrest with two cup holders. Really nice to see that, and a manually sliding rear window back here. What I love about all these trucks is they really know their markets. Despite being similarly sized and having similar bed capacities and such, they really do handle quite differently. This is right in between the Ranger and the Gladiator. The Ranger feels very car-like, and the Gladiator feels very bulky and trucky. This is perfectly in the middle. It's a little bit floaty, and it each bumps up really nice. And it corners pretty well. It is a little heavy on the cornering and the turns, but the steering for the most part is very on point. It's not as vague as the Ranger's is. Moving into the Tacoma, it is fairly basic in here compared to the other trucks. No heated seats or heated steering wheel on this particular trim, though you do get the larger infotainment screen. Unfortunately, this is by far the slowest of all of them. This is a newer implementation from Toyota, and it really shows that they haven't worked out all the bugs yet, because you can tell going between these things, it lags quite a bit. See, sometimes it takes a double press on the buttons. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it's decently fast, but this definitely has the slowest infotainment amongst all of them. Other notable things are this does have dual zone climate control like some of the other trucks, and this is the only truck to have a power sliding rear window. Amongst all the competition, none of them have a power sliding rear window except the Tacoma, except all the other trucks also have heated rear windows, which the Tacoma does not have. Throwing the Tacoma into reverse, the backup camera is definitely the lowest quality between all four trucks in here, and turning the steering wheel, there is no guiding lines. The last thing of note on this interior is the rear locker and the crawl control, which is all located up here. Those are really nice features to have when off-roading. Moving to the rear seats in the Tacoma, this will probably be the quickest rear seat segment. You'll have two cup holders back here. That is pretty much it. Fairly comfortable seats, no optional armrest with cup holders, though you get them there, so that's fine. And then obviously you already have a power window. You have some hooks to hang things, but it is pretty sparse back here. Alrighty, driving the Tacoma. This is also kind of right in the middle. The seating position is nice. The steering is firm, but still very capable. The braking is nice, and the acceleration is okay. It definitely is not the leader in any of the categories, but it still gets the job done quite well. And lastly, moving to the Gladiator, this is definitely the most utilitarian of all the trucks. Everything is kind of bulky and upright, you know, very short windshield, very, very tiny dashboard compared to the other vehicles. But, you know, this is based off the Wrangler, so you kind of expect that. A lot of hard touch plastics in here also compared to the other vehicles. That doesn't mean there's not creature comforts in here. You'll get a very nice leather wrapped steering wheel, and you'll have heated steering wheel as an option and heated seats. And then down here you have all your controls, because obviously you can take the doors and the roof off on this, which is not available on any of the other trucks. You also have an actual shifter to shift between 4 and 2-wheel drive. That's really cool. Moving to the backup camera up here, it is very, very high definition, and you also do get turning lines with this. I think between all 4 of the trucks, this and the Canyon have the best looking backup camera. This is a smaller infotainment system. There is a larger one available, but this still has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And Uconnect is really quick. It's very nice. Maybe not the quickest of the bunch, but it is still a really awesome infotainment system. Moving to the rear seats in the Gladiator, you have 2 climate vents down here, your window controls and cup holders, which is really nice. Again, very utilitarian back here, since again, you can take the roof off, though despite that, you still do have a manually sliding window, so that is really nice. They give you that ability to be able to open and close that if you don't want to take the entire thing off. All right, driving the Jeep Gladiator. This is definitely the truckiest of all of these midsize trucks. It's very heavy. The steering is pretty stiff, and it just feels more planted on the ground when compared to especially the Ford Ranger. It's night and day between this and the Ranger. That is definitely much more car-like, a lot smoother of a drive, and this is very heavy, and it picks up pretty good, but it is definitely not as responsive as some of the other trucks in comparison. One last thing of note in the Gladiator is it is by far the noisiest cabin. Getting a lot of road noise in here, obviously because the top is removable. It does not seal as well as the other ones, so that is a trade-off to consider when purchasing a truck like this. So this is my friend Jake. He's been doing all my camera work for the video thus far. Before we fully wrap up, I wanted to talk about some of the bests and the worsts between all of these trucks. Objectively, between all 4 competitors, the best horsepower and towing go to the Canyon, and the best torque and payload go to the Ranger. So when we're talking about best exterior, this was a little bit more difficult, because again, this is kind of a subjective category, but what did you feel?
So when we're looking at the exteriors of these, the one that I felt the most appealing to look at was the Tacoma in my mind, just for the fact that it's not as boxy as the Gladiator, but it's not as round as the Canyon or the Ranger is.
I would agree that the Tacoma is probably the best looking, with a very close second for the Gladiator, just because of this paint color and the black wheels. I think this looks fantastic, but I still think the Tacoma would win out best exterior looks thus far. And then worst exterior. And this doesn't mean it's like the ugliest vehicle, but between the 4, which is the least appealing to us?
The one that we decided that was least appealing was
this is universal.
Ranger.
Yeah, the Ranger.
It feels like I'm driving a bubble.
The Ranger, it's not a bad looking truck, and especially in certain trims with certain wheel configurations, it does look fairly sharp, but between all of these, that just was like our least favorite. Best interior.
Best interior that I felt was the Canyon. The Canyon feels most comfortable for everyday life.
Though I might argue the seats on the Ranger are slightly more comfortable, as a whole, the interior on the Canyon really outshines the other 3 competitors. From infotainment speed to texture quality, it really is impressive. The only thing it feels like it's missing is a sunroof, which still is not an option on the current body style of the Canyon.
that brings us to worst interior. Wow, the Ranger's cleaning up today.
It is definitely cleaning up today.
Yeah.
Especially the price tag on that thing.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna pay that much money for a truck, I really don't want to sit in what feels like plastic. I've had a Ranger. They're great trucks. Just this one and the new ones don't feel
as premium.
Yeah.
And then lastly, that brings us to definitely the most subjective category, coolest feature amongst all of them.
And this is something we both agree on, just
Yeah.
for the fact that we both like this, the fact that it can do this. The Jeep.
Yeah, you can take the roof off and the doors. I mean, obviously, it's kind of in a league of its own in that category. The only thing you could even compare it to is a Bronco. As I mentioned in the driving segment, it's kind of a detractor in some areas because you get the most road noise and it's very loud in the cabin.
And it is one of those things you have to kind of weigh, like, okay, how often am I going to use this? How often am I not going to use this?
That is going to conclude my comparison of these 4 mid-size pickup trucks. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, leaving a like on the video and subscribing would really help my channel out quite a bit. Lastly, I am a Christian, so if you have any prayer requests, please feel free to leave those in the comment section below. And I like to close on a weekly Bible verse. This week's set of verses is Luke 19:38 through 40. So to give you guys a little setup, this section of scripture is where Jesus comes to Jerusalem riding on a donkey, and people are there, crowds celebrating, and they're waving palm branches, and this is commonly referred to nowadays and celebrated as Palm Sunday. So picking up in verse 38, the people are shouting, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest." Some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." "I tell you," he replied, "if they keep quiet, the stones will cry out." And the Pharisees didn't believe that Jesus was the Messiah. They were like, no, you're blaspheming God. We're about the law. You don't know what you're talking about. And so they're saying, hey, rebuke your disciples because you are not the Son of God. They need to stop yelling that. And Jesus is like, if you silence them, even the stones will cry out because he truly is the Son of God. And so that concludes this video. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care.